sauce.
My hotel lighting, it consists of this thing.
You have it facing you.
That's good.
I do.
I'm in a windowless room.
I do have a window, but I couldn't move the table.
Welcome, everybody. This is the very first episode. You're here for a little bit of history. We are launching today a new webinar about content marketing. And like me, if you're here, you're probably a fan of the platform. I'm an evangelist and longtime user of Semrush or Semrush, depending on where you are in the world. And when they asked me if I would be open to this, of course I said yes, because they're just the best collaborators. So I get to be your host for this new series on content marketing, which is like my passion, my professional obsession. And when they said that I could invite anyone that I wanted to be on the show, I got even more excited, especially since their little list of suggestions had one name at the top, Andrew Davis. We have Andrew Davis with us today.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. We are all in different parts of the country or the world. All of us this is an international audience. I'm sorry to say I'm in the room with the worst lighting. I'm in a conference center in Illinois. Drew Davis, where do you find yourself?
I am in a hotel room in Boone, North Carolina, which is in like if you're from outside the United States, it's on the east coast of the United States, but the western part of North Carolina in the Blue Ridge Mountains, picturesque, beautiful place.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we are joined by Casey Gillette, who is in yet another city. Say hello, Casey.
Hey, Casey, I am in Boston.
Go Boston!
Which Drew loves because he's also a Bostonian. Please tell us in the chat where you're dialing in from, and because this is going to be as much of a dialogue as we can make it. I see that we have people from Mexico. We have people from Las Vegas.
Go Vegas!
We've got at least one person from Ukraine. We have a lot of friends of Spain. We've got this is always usually anyone from Asia. We'd love to hear from you. India, great. Salim Khan from India, welcome. So just put anything that and throughout this hour, anything you want to contribute, to ask, drop it in the chat in YouTube. We're still using Google Hangouts. This might be the last day that's possible to sync using Google Hangouts. We hope this connection lasts. But Semrush is we're grateful they're going to move that into our chat here, so we'll be able to see it. So don't hesitate to interact with us. And as much as we can, we're going to break out of our three-person conversation here and include your voices and answer your questions. And that includes you, Barry Ryan from Manhattan Beach, California.
I bet it's Manhattan 80 Beach. And sunny in Manhattan Beach right now. I bet he's surfing while he watches this.
Venatakis John is from Greece. Welcome from Greece. I think everything, you're all beating me. Itasca, Illinois, a windowless room in Itasca, Illinois. I'd rather be in any of the places you are. It's nice out, but there's many walls between me and the sunshine. So we're going to start in just a minute. Our format goes like this. Andrew is, if you don't know him yet, you really should. You will in a minute. Very well known for his beautifully structured and packed with insights presentations that he gives all over the world. I first met him at Content Marketing World, and he rocked the stage. He was the top-rated. I saw the session where you were the top-rated speaker, and I got your autograph afterwards. And because you were the top-rated speaker, I have it still. It was in my yearbook. I asked everyone to sign my yearbook that year.
That's right. I do remember that. You're right. Yep. Oh, I forgot about that.
And then you were the top-rated speaker in that session, which meant you were on the main stage the following year and killed it. And I, to a lesser extent, followed in your footsteps because that year I was the top-rated speaker and got to speak on the main stage, which was less inspiring and nerdier, but there's an audience for everybody, right?
But it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, it was like an analytics bent. You get it. But we're going to talk more about big picture stuff today, and we have Casey with us. Casey is a new friend of mine.
Yeah, we just met like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and we're already
collaborating. I feel like I've known you forever.
You already made me a better marketer because I was sitting at breakfast with you, and I said, I want to interview some people here, but I don't know what to talk about. And you were like, oh, just do this, this, and this. And it was awesome.
And then we did it.
And we did it. I haven't published it yet, but I'm working on it.
Waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah, you were my first interview at another industry conference just a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
So,
we had fun.
Yeah. I hope that we don't have technical issues. I'm getting a note that said not everyone's camera is working. Doesn't matter. We're going to be sharing a screen here. Andrew has his own style for his presentations, as you'll see in a second. If you don't mind, let's just jump in. I'm ready.
Yeah, I can do that. This is great. Thanks for having me on. I wanted to talk about the loyalty loop today. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll do that. How's that sound? And if you have questions, whoa, look at that. That's really cool.
Infinity.
It's infinity and beyond. All right, we're going to talk about the loyalty loop, which is a concept I've been researching for like the last 3 years. It really boils down to a problem I have with the funnel. And I mean, I know you love the funnel, Andy. Casey, I don't know if you're a big funnel fan. Are you?
I mean, kind of. I'm a content marketer.
Yeah. I mean, I think marketers in general have become fans of the funnel, and we all know how it works. You raise a bunch of awareness for your brand in the marketplace or your content in the marketplace. You get some people to consider working with your brand. Some of those people will show some intent to purchase a product from you. Some of those people might purchase your product or service. And some of those people might become loyal advocates for your brand. And if you're having trouble getting people through the funnel, or you don't have enough people trickling out the bottom, you've just got to raise more awareness. Well, I'm kind of a history buff, so I went back in time and tried to find out where the funnel was invented. And it turns out it was actually invented in 1898 by a guy named St. Elmo Lewis. Yeah. Seriously,
wow.
In 1890, it's over 100. It's 121 years ago or something this year. And in 1898, just for some context, there were no incandescent light bulbs. It was the same year that Thomas Edison actually patented the light bulb. So when St. Elmo Lewis drew this drawing, he must have drawn it, by candlelight. He was based in Detroit, in the United States. He worked for an advertising agency, by the way, called the Advertising Agency. That was their brand. It was genius. And he basically wanted to try to represent how people buy and how he could get people to purchase a product. And he didn't draw a funnel. He did draw a scale. But his idea was, if you get the attention of the party you're interested in, raise some awareness, get them interested in solving the problem that they have, show some desire to solve that problem with a product that you're actually showcasing or service you're showcasing, and then gets in their mind the conviction that they need to solve this problem today, you could overcome any objection to the sale, and the scale would tip your way, and you would be able to walk out with the sale. And St. Elmo Lewis actually was one of his clients was NCR, the National Cash Register Company. Which the derivative is still around today, but they were the first people to implement this model with their traveling salesmen, and it worked. It was a huge success, and over the years it's evolved. I mean, obviously we don't use this graphic, and we've tried to kind of modernize it. We've come up with this version, the bow tie with multicolored dots, and we've tried to change the phase names given the way consumers have changed and buying has changed, and even products have changed. Like this is for a software as a service company, or how about this one? This is the mirrored triangles with an added gray arrow. Look, I love arrows. I think arrows are awesome, but you do not need the arrow in this. I spent like an hour trying to go through each phase and wondering why you need the arrow. You don't need the arrow. It's got these gradients here on the side that some CEO must have decided. We've just been redesigning the funnel over and over, like this one. Here's an awesome one. Turn online marketing into dollars. And it's just a complicated funnel inside of a more complicated funnel with 2 blue arrows. And I mean, we love arrows, I guess, but money in your pocket is my favorite blue arrow ever. That's just genius. Look, at the end of the day, I think we have to agree, for everybody that's watching this right now, that a lot has changed since 1898. The way we buy has changed. The way we sell has changed. The media options have changed. Consumers have changed a lot since 1898, but the framework we're using is fundamentally the same. And there are 2 problems with this, which we can dive into in the chat if you want. But basically, one of the problems is it's linear, which I don't think represents the way people really buy. And 2, I think it's media centric, and I have a whole conspiracy theory about why we still use this. But let's not talk about that. It's just basically, at the end of the day, every media company wants to sell you ads, because if you're having a marketing problem and you're not getting people through the funnel, it means you need to raise awareness, which means buy ads. So here's the thing. If you get nothing out of this webinar and you leave right now, all I want you to do is challenge the funnel. Just start to think, is this the best way to represent the consumer journey in a modern world, given that it was invented in 1898? And if not, what's a better model? Look, I don't have the answer, but I want to talk about the loops, the loyalty loops. And this is a model that was inspired by something that the McKinsey and Company did in 2008. And I've spent a lot of time kind of researching and refining it. But let me just walk you through it quickly, and then we can talk about how it works. Essentially, there are two things I want you to recognize immediately. It's not linear, which is how people buy today. They don't buy in a linear fashion. They buy in a very cyclical, circular fashion that happens very quickly sometimes and very long at others. And the second thing is, I just want you to remember that you can start anywhere on the loyalty loop, okay? And we can talk more about that in a second. But I'm just going to walk through the big key elements, and I'm going to do it with a very simple purchase. I'm going to talk about buying a car, okay? So we all understand how this works, and then we can apply it. If you have questions, type them in, and we'll get to the questions right after this. Are you guys doing okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
You've triggered me already. I'm challenged. You successfully challenged me. I knew it was never linear, but it's going to be hard to get me off the funnel concept, but I'm ready. I'm open.
Well,
I'm listening.
Maybe we can talk about how I think if you stack these, you end up with a spiral, not a funnel. We'll talk about that later. But here's how it works. We're going to start at the moment of inspiration. Okay, a moment of inspiration is an instant in time that sends you on a journey you never expected. So, for example, I was sitting at my kitchen table reading my mail one morning, and in the mail, I get a letter from Nissan, and it's from Nissan Finance. So I open it because I'm thinking, oh, I didn't pay my bill this month. I got to get on that. And when I open it, it's a letter from this woman, Rachel. And she's basically, she just is telling me, hey, Mr. Davis, sorry, your lease has expired. It's going to expire in 30 days. We assume you're going to return your car. So here's a list of things you need to do before you return your vehicle to Nissan. If you have any questions, call me. I'm Rachel, Leasing Maturity Manager. Now,
that's an inspirational letter.
Oh, it's like, if you could just fathom how the inspirational tone, it was like, dear Mr. Davis, we want to inform you that in the next 30 days, it was like that. But this is what I want to point out, that these moments of inspiration happen all the time. Like, I didn't wake up that morning thinking I need to buy a car, but I'm sitting in my pajamas drinking a cup of coffee, and now I'm inspired. I've been sent on a journey I didn't expect that morning to buy a vehicle. And two things happen immediately anytime you have a moment of inspiration. They happen very quickly, and they're subconscious and unintentional. The first thing that happens is a trigger question pops into your mind. All right, and because we're talking about search today and content, we're going to come back to this. But the trigger question is the first question that pops into your mind anytime a moment of inspiration happens. All right, so I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to return my car in 30 days and buy a new one. The first question that pops into my mind subconsciously and unintentionally is, what kind of car am I going to buy next? And because our minds don't like ambiguity, they want an answer to every question. They have a deep desire for closure. A prime brand pops into our head to try to answer that as quick as possible. So I'm sitting at my kitchen counter. I just read the first 3 lines of this letter from Rachel. She's sending me on a journey to buy a new car. The first question I ask is, what kind of car am I going to buy next? What's the first brand that's going to pop into my head?
For cars?
Nissan.
For cars, given this moment of inspiration.
Well, you got a letter from Nissan.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's Nissan. My brain just wants to answer it as soon as possible, right? Like that's all I'm doing. And so my brain is like, oh, thank goodness you answered it. You're going to buy a Nissan. Now we move into the next phase as soon as I, shower and get in the car. I'm not driving to work. And I don't have time to go online and research vehicles right now. I got to get to the office. So I'm driving down the street and I see a Jeep Grand Cherokee coming towards me, right? And it's got that new body style. And I'm like, oh, I like the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I add it to my list. So now I've got 2 brands. I've got Nissan and the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Then I see an Audi Q3 coming. It's taking a left turn and right in front of me, right? And I'm like, oh, Audi Q3. I kind of like that car. maybe we should test drive the Audi Q3 again. We tried it 3 years ago. Let's give it a shot. So now I've got 3 brands. I've got Nissan, I've got Jeep, and I just added the Audi Q3. Then I stop at a light. This is only a 20-minute drive, but every car is a potential opportunity for me, right? So now all of a sudden I see this car pull up next to me. It's a Porsche Macan. I've never noticed this car before. It's a very nice car, right?
Yes.
This is active evaluation. We're adding and subtracting brands as we move closer and closer to what I call a moment of commitment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in active evaluation, I just want to point out that sometimes this doesn't happen online. So,
Sure.
And we know that you're adding and subtracting brands just even in your mind as you're thinking through a problem or a solution or a prime brand that you know about, you're thinking about other brands. And in active evaluation, in our example here, I'm going to fast forward, but essentially, let's say I test drive the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I don't like it. I test drive the Audi Q3. I like it. I filled out those online forms to get an Audi Q3 appointment to talk to somebody and actually negotiate, right? That Audi Q3 appointment form is what I call a moment of commitment, all right?
Yep. Okay.
It's not a purchase necessarily. I want to be really clear. A moment of commitment is an instant in time where you trade money, data, or time for information to support a cause or to buy a product or a service.
I see.
So even if you email someone and says, hey, could we set up a 20-minute phone call to chat, that is a moment of commitment. They are trading their time for that call. So this is very valuable. Even if you share a link and somebody clicks that link and they start reading your content, you could even consider that a moment of commitment because they are now going to trade some time to consume this content, okay? So in a moment of commitment, every moment of commitment has the ability to move into the next phase, a loyalty loop, right? But time out on our purchase, because I never should have got this far with Audi, right? Like if I've committed to filling out this form, they've sent me an email saying, come on Saturday at 10 a.m. I never should have got this far from Nissan's perspective. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, you're in a different funnel. I mean, traditionally, what Casey and I were probably thinking is like, wait, now you become aware of a different brand, and now you're in a different funnel. They didn't capture you entirely, so no, that's not what the intent of the Nissan letter. But
no,
but
they missed the biggest opportunity, right? Because Nissan was the prime brand for me, right? I had a moment of inspiration that they triggered. I had a trigger question that popped into my mind. They were the prime brand, but they did nothing to get me quicker to a new moment of commitment. Does that make sense? So any marketer can come up within 2 seconds anything they could have done to just try to get me into another Nissan, right? Like the easiest thing would be, hey, I included a brochure for our new Nissan Murano. For $5 more a month, we'll deliver it to your house tomorrow, and you can sign the paperwork, right? So I think as marketers, we very quickly forget that the loyalty loop experience is the first place we should focus. When we're the prime brand, we have to keep people coming to new moments of commitment and giving them an experience that adds something. And the loyalty loop. Oh, go ahead.
You've certainly pointed out an issue with the funnel, which is that the funnel assumes one brand, and that's not how anybody makes decisions. The funnel is just a specific. I mean, isn't that how we talk about it, right? It's like your awareness, consideration, interest, commitment is just for one brand, even though they may be in the consideration step in 10 different funnels, right? You just mentioned 6 different cars, which, by the way, New Jersey State Auto Used Cars is here. And it's kind of fun that we've got someone here who hates the funnel. Hey, Sean McGinnis is here too. Good to see you.
Sean.
I'm glad you made it, Sean. Yeah, old friend.
Well, so I mean, this is basically that was all the presentation I wanted to get through anyway. And I'm glad we're already talking about it because you point out one of the biggest problems with the funnel that I have. The funnel is purported to show how consumers buy, but it's from a brand's perspective. Right. And I think the loyalty loop, you have to, or any new model I think you consider has to be really about the consumer's actual journey. What brands do they actually add and subtract in active evaluation? And more importantly, in active evaluation, how can you interrupt active evaluation and get someone to a moment of commitment very quickly?
Yeah, as a web development company, I can certainly appreciate user-centered thinking, user-centered design, and it's true that the funnel is brand-centric. I'll give you that. I'm looking for a way to argue with you, and I'm agreeing too much right now, but it's true. Casey, what's
yeah,
your
I mean,
first
the
question?
one thing that I was thinking of is, what if you aren't aware of the brands that are out there, right? Like, let's say I find myself with a problem and I don't know who the brands are who are
Give
going
me
to
a problem. Yeah, that's great, Casey. Give me a problem and let's map it.
All right. Oh no, I'm on the spot.
Well, I'll give you one.
Okay, let's say this.
Okay, go.
I golf. I just started golfing, right? And I don't know which club that I need to use when I'm, 100 yards out, right?
Okay.
Whatever it might be.
Sure,
And because I'm new, I don't necessarily know the brands that I should be looking for.
Yes. Okay, good. So your moment of inspiration, right, is that I just started golfing, and your trigger question is, what club should I use for different types of shots? Is that fair?
Correct.
What is your prime brand? Where are you going to go answer that question? Just yell it out. Don't even think. Where are you going to go?
Like the internet, I guess.
Where on the internet? What's your prime brand?
I don't know. Golf Galaxy, maybe.
Golf Galaxy.
That's not a brand. That's a store.
That's a store.
Yeah.
That's a brand. Look, here's the thing. If you had said Google, which I would do, I'm not a golfer.
That's what I was thinking when I meant internet.
No, okay. So look, Google is one of a lot of people's prime brand when they don't have a brand in our marketing senses mind, right? Mm-hmm. So if you go to Google, if you were going to map this journey, you would go to Google right now and you would type in your trigger question, right?
Yep.
And the first thing that comes up might be a Golf Digest article. That's a brand you're adding to active evaluation, and you're going to consume the content there, okay? So that would mean you're here in active evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say Golf Digest on their page says, hey, download a pocket guide to like choosing the right club for the right shot so that when you're on the green, you can actually make a determination with this little thing. Sign up here. That would be their moment of commitment to download that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So if you don't know the prime brand, if your consumer has a question that they don't answer with a brand they already know, or maybe even 5 brands they already know, we assume that they're gonna either go to a friend, right? They're going to go to the web, or they're gonna go to a social network, which is a friend, and ask the same trigger question.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, and it's relevant to this audience and this and our host for this chat of Semrush, because that's what a lot of people are trying to do, is to attract attention by solving people's information needs. And what a content marketer does is answer people's questions online. And why Golf Digest in that example ranked is because they've got a roundup of like top clubs for the 100-yard shot. And that's why Casey's going to scan through that. So what happens next for Casey?
So, and this is where a lot of people, I think, especially us marketers, fall short. By the way, there's some good ideas for other journeys. So we'll use those, Jocelyn and Sean, if we do more examples. So I think most of us are getting better and better at actually trying to interrupt active evaluation. We're not that great at getting people to commit for the right kinds of reasons, inviting them to sign up for something that's relevant to their moment of inspiration. So usually there's a gap. Or a lot of times as marketers, we try to come up with something that's a catch-all for 50 moments of inspiration. But the truth is, it never really speaks to the consumer. So they're like, well, that's not really my problem. Like, I was just actually trying to find proposal template software to make my proposals look better. And I found a brand. I want them to look better. And I found a brand that had a whole article on how to make your proposals look better. And then at the bottom, they invited me to a moment of commitment to download a white paper where 1 out of like 40 chapters was about design. And I was like, you know what? I don't need writing help. I'm here for design help. If you just had a 10-page thing that was just about design, I would have committed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So after the moment of commitment, though, we're not great at delivering a really good loyalty loop experience. And a loyalty loop experience is a series. We're very quick to try to go to the sale, most of us, right? So we're like, even the proposal company I was talking about, they're like, hey, like, want to make your proposals look better? Download a white paper. And as soon as you download a white paper, the salesperson's calling, like, want to make their things look better? Well, that's great. Like, sign up for our software. It's $49.90 a month. Like, I'm like, I haven't gotten there yet, right? We need to help build an experience that does one of 6 things. It either raises anticipation for another moment of inspiration, or it scales camaraderie between the brand and the person you're actually targeting. We can remove friction from some of the other experiences we know they're going down in active evaluation. We can talk more about those, but the key is to not end the experience and the content you're delivering at the moment of commitment with the thing you've promised, but building an experience that lasts longer, so they build more trust over time, so they have a new moment of inspiration that you actually triggered. Am I going too deep?
No.
I think that makes sense. I mean, even when we think about what we're doing as marketers, right? Whether you're a content marketer, paid, doing everything as a whole, right? We're trying to get people to a certain point, and then we have things like retargeting, like personalization, right? We're personalizing things for them to get them to continue through. I mean, I still think there's a funnel element to it. We're trying to push them into the next step, but by giving them the right things, though, like by giving them the right things, right? So someone comes to my site, and yes, like, so it's me, and I'm trying to figure out what club I need, to hit. So I find this pocket guide. Okay, well, what's my next step? Like, if it's Golf Digest, what are they trying to get me to do, right? Is it commit to Golf Digest? Is it for me to buy a club, right? Maybe they have an affiliate program, whatever it is. So now the next thing they might send me that makes sense is, tips on buying wedges, right? Or something along those lines that takes me through it, right? That's not the end.
Yeah, it's not the end. It's not a funnel though either. It's a spiral. Like, imagine
a never-ending spiral.
It's an infinite slinky, and the goal, it really is. It's like, just imagine that you're looking top down. Every loop would look like that, but if you looked at them from the side, they look like this. And here's the thing. Like, even in our hypothetical, Casey, you're dead on, right? Like, we need to constantly identify 2 things when you're building a spiral of loyalty loops. You have to the first thing you need to identify is the first moment of commitment. And before you worry about the experience you're going to provide, you need to design and identify the next moment of inspiration you're trying to create. So let's just play out your Golf Digest, right? You download the Pocket Guide, and they say, great, thanks for downloading the Pocket Guide. Let's say the next moment of inspiration they want you to have is that your current clubs suck. That's the moment. They need you to have that moment of inspiration, right? So maybe if that's the case, you need to build a little experience that builds to that new moment where you go, oh my gosh, my clubs do suck. It's like they read my mind, right?
Sure.
So in that experience, you might send an email that says, how often do you play golf? Every 2 weeks, every 1 week, every day. If it's every 2 weeks, I know that 2 weeks from now I can say, how was your game this weekend? Like, was it terrible? If it was terrible, it's probably your clubs, because you're a great golfer.
It's definitely not me. That's
exactly.
Right.
So that now you're on the second moment of inspiration that you're creating, and you're designing the next moment of commitment again after that. And like the loyalty, if Nissan thought this way, I never would have bought my next car. Not being a Nissan, right? I would have bought a Nissan, because they would have said, every time a lease comes up, and tens of thousands of leases for Nissan alone come up every year, and most of them do not renew, because they aren't thinking, hey, this is a moment of inspiration. What would be the best possible outcome for us? Committing to another Nissan. Yeah. Okay, how could we remove the friction? How could we actually build an experience that's designed to get them into another Nissan as fast, as easily as possible, with an increase in revenue?
Right. Yeah. And I like that idea of the spiral. I mean, from the sense of, one of the problems I think we have as marketers is we think about that sale, right? So you're talking about this moment of commitment that maybe it's not necessarily a sale, but okay, our goal is to get people to this point. And then I think a lot of times we just let them go after that.
Yes.
But, right? We need to, don't we want to help our customers and do other things? And, I think a lot about that is, from a content marketing perspective of, so many people are just putting stuff on their site to get people in, but what about the people who are already there? So I do love that idea of a spiral, is continuously keeping people there and helping them and keeping them with your brand.
You're absolutely right. Like, sorry, Andy, I'm having so much with Casey.
Great. She's the best. You figured it out.
We're just gonna ignore you for now. Yeah. Great. So, like, let's assume that it takes 3 loops to get to a sale, right? let's just assume for fun, okay? After the sale, we still need to figure out what are the next moments of inspiration that we're going to create. And one of the ones we miss the most is what I call the honeymoon phase. Like when you've just signed up for a new product or a service, like you're not going to be unbelievably excited about it forever. There's a very finite time to do it. And Rent the Runway, by the way, if you ever look at Rent the Runway's reviews, they are so well timed when they ask people to review the dress that they rented. They're so well timed that the reviews are gushing. Even for a 3-star product, somebody will say, I only give this 3 stars, but they're like, I looked amazing. It was the most amazing night. I looked fantastic. It'll just say it was like a little too short, like that, and that's why they gave it 3 stars. But they loved it because the timing was right. So when we're coming to the next moment of inspiration and the moment of commitments, we're trying to get people inspired to, to write a great review and commit to writing that review.
Yeah.
And what's the next moment of inspiration? Tell a friend. Okay, let's really think these through. How are we going to build that experience?
Yeah, what I like about this is the context. You're connecting the inspiration to the commitment. I think one of the problems with funnels is that people look at it with data and they say, oh, we have, this is a true story. I'm on a marketing committee for a children's hospital, and we're looking at, different types of audiences, and these people have acute needs, and these people just, this is like heart transplants, this is strep throat. These different audiences, we have 70% awareness and 50% awareness with these, and they go down. Have you visited the hospital? 20%, 11%, and they go down the list. But it's the numbers sort of ignore the story of the person in the moment. And if you think of it as moments, which you keep mentioning, and I like that, and the context of what's in their mind, and then what do they need? Proposal software. What's in my mind? Beauty, design, brand. What's the commitment? Oh, it's real general. I'm going to throw you in the ocean with 55 topics. No, you didn't connect the dot for me. That's really, so it's an empathy test. And I think that what I'm getting from this and what you're reminding us of is that there's really specific stories in the life of every visitor to every one of our web pages. And the more you know the deeper you go in their mind and what brought them there, right? What's the true story in the life of every visitor to every page? And know, okay, Casey's got to hit this ball 100 yards and she's not sure she got the club. Drew's got a car that's, lease is expiring. And, so to strengthen that connection between the moment, I like it, inspiration, and the other moment, I'm ready to take a next, there's so many words for this, micro conversion, or like whatever the thing is, the download, the lead gen, So context is just absolutely critical. And if it's not there, you lost them. And they're actually not just in your funnel, they're in 55 funnels because it's actually a loop.
Yeah. No, I think you're dead on. I mean, this is why I spent so much time banging my head against the wall trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, for me, it really is about kind of extreme empathy. The whole idea is how can we really get into the mind of our consumers that we're targeting, or whether they're B2B or B2C, or you're selling to patients like a hospital. It's really important that if you're going to build the right kind of experience, you have to have a clear understanding of their moment of inspiration. What sent them on the journey for that step? What was the question they were trying to answer? And what did they think the answer was before they went on this journey and got to us or reading our stuff? So I think it helps build better experiences that speak directly to the consumer's needs in a much deeper way, and doesn't try to do everything at once, which is another problem. Like I just signed up for, by the way, I did an experiment, I think 2 years ago. I signed up for 140 different software as a service companies in 1 month to try to see and analyze their post-commitment experience for a free trial. It was awful.
Can you imagine how many emails you got?
Oh my gosh. The emails I could handle because I set up a Gmail account, but I realized within 3 days that I needed a Google phone number that was just for this test, because they were so aggressive in trying to get me to sign up for a 20-minute or 30-minute demo or an hour-long discussion or a needs analysis. And the truth is, if they had understood the questions we have at the beginning, they wouldn't have done that. The other thing that pointed out to me is you can learn a lot by understanding what happens in this little experience down here. Like everybody put me into a drip campaign that was about their software, but no, and they all obviously have an unsubscribe link. But think about it. If you're unsubscribing from a drip campaign that's teaching you about a 14-day free software trial, you're going to opt out when you've chosen another software, right? So if you wanted to learn what the other prime brands were, or who else they're considering and how long it takes them to convert, instead of saying, do you want to unsubscribe, just say, hey, look, I know you're considering other software right now. If you want to stop this because you've already chosen someone else, click here and tell us who you chose. You'd get a huge amount of competitive intelligence about active evaluation.
That's a really cool idea. I think, why don't people think about that? A funnel-centric marketer, they're done. I lost the sale. What you're thinking of is getting knowledge about who the competitors are, what the decision criteria are, what are the triggers for this audience. I've never even heard of people doing that. That's a cool idea. Hey, you chose someone else? Totally cool. I don't want to email you anymore. Just one question, answer one question, and I'm sorry, I'll take you off the list. I didn't mean to bother you. That's a great idea. It's a cool, like what would you do? Just like step 11 on the drip?
I would actually add it to like after the third drip for the rest of the 11, because a lot of people I think decide sooner than we assume. When we as marketers, in our mind, we build a 14-day free trial and we hope they use it all 14 days and we assume they are, when in fact they're not, right? So we should empathize with them. Like, okay, you've been on our drip campaign for 3 days. We saw you use the software the first 2 days. You haven't come back for the third day. Maybe you've already decided, but at the bottom of this, and I'm going to keep moving it up my email until the last day, right? So again, it's about the experience we deliver, and people that do these experiences really well, that are focused on really understanding the next moment of inspiration, are the ones that create not just customers who like them, but really loyal fans and followers. They're focused on constant education, constant inspiration, to remind people of how they felt the day they signed up, that honeymoon phase. They're constantly reaching back in their arsenal to remind them that they're providing value constantly.
I'm going to make a confession now. Do a crappy web page. I'm the writer of a crappy web page. On my site, don't look at it. It's a WordPress web design page. So you make a page about WordPress web design. Here's a brand-centric view. Oh yeah, I'm going to talk about WordPress. WordPress is good. WordPress is popular. If you stop and think a moment, like someone thinking about WordPress is thinking about what? They're not thinking about, is WordPress popular? Everyone knows that's why it was the prime, what do you call it?
It's the prime brand. Yeah.
Their questions are different. Their questions are, will my site look like a template? Will my site get hacked? I heard it's not secure. Yes. I failed to answer. I think it's still live. I think it ranks. Don't look. Please don't look at my WordPress. Confession of a marketer who wrote, the Brits swear on this. I'm going to swear. It's a shitty web page. It's just not a good web page. It doesn't answer, and it's not empathetic. It doesn't answer the questions. And it needs to be rewritten because it's a page making the case for the technology, not our use of it. It's like an ad for WordPress. Isn't that what I know I'm trying to do on the page? I'm trying to convert you into, start a conversation with me about how we can address these concerns you have about it.
Yeah. Look, I think one of the reasons we get into this trap is, and this is not a ding on keyword research. The whole goal of great keyword research is try to actually get into the mind of the consumer in a deeper way. And let's just think about that proposal thing I was talking about before. Like if you're looking for great proposal design, you could try to own that main keyword. But the fact is that people that are doing proposals today are using like Google Docs for their proposals, or they're using Word for their proposals, and they want to make them better. So when their prime brand, when they have their moment of inspiration, like let's say you're sitting at your desk and somebody that you were trying to sell sends you a proposal from a competitor and it looks awesome, and you're like, well, I'd go with them too. Your first thought, that's your moment of inspiration. Your trigger question is, how can I make my proposals look that good so I close more deals like that? Yeah. Your prime brand is going to be, well, I use Google Docs, right? So when you go into active evaluation, what you're searching for is like, how do I make Google Docs like look better for proposals? And yeah, that's only 700 or 800 searches for the month. It's not going to be the most important one. But if you take that moment of inspiration, you can get in their mind so well that you can build an experience that I guarantee in a few days will get them on your proposal software. I guarantee it. So
I've got a question for both of you.
Yeah.
We've given examples so far, both of positive and negative inspiration. Your proposal inspiration was an insecurity, right? You're like, I look bad. What, Casey or Andrew, what are your thoughts about those triggers and using language, targeting keywords, or doing any kind of marketing that is to trigger an insecurity or a fear or a FOMO, that kind of thing?
So I actually just gave a presentation 2 weeks ago at MozCon where we were, and one of the things I was talking about is there's a swimsuit brand, and one of the things they do that I just absolutely loved, and I had to show this as an example, was like, what is my size, right? What size swimsuit do I need? Because as a woman online, like, finding your swimsuit size is essentially impossible. But they built this brilliant piece of content that takes you through the steps of like, what are the things that are important to you? So fits and sizes and whatever it might be. And then not only did it give you a suggested size, it gave you suggested swimsuits. And I thought that was really fantastic. And their whole brand is all about like inclusivity and like regardless of age and size and whatever it is. And their marketing around it is so brilliant. The company is called Somersault. But I thought they really capitalized on that idea, because as a woman, like, you want to look good in your swimsuit. So whether it's a fear or whatever it is, they make it, their branding has enabled the user or the person to feel like, oh, okay, like, I can get behind this. This suits me. The language that they use is really, I think, just really resonates with their audience. And I think they just do a brilliant job of it.
That was a great presentation. Andrew, you would have loved it. The example shows. Man. It's good. Do a call to Casey sometime. She can walk you through. It's cool because what showed, I think, was just like a simple, like one question at a time.
Yeah, it's like 5 questions, and that's it.
Yeah, you would have loved it, Andrew, because it for a person who has those emotions, right? They're like, all ready to. They're in this stressful moment of picking out a swimsuit.
Yes.
And it just removed all the and just asked one question at a time. So maybe that's a way to be sensitive. Yeah, be sensitive and empathetic to people who are making a tough, personal, sensitive decision, is to overwhelm them with a form with 65 questions on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, right, and I was thinking about like software, right? So I can't believe you signed up for 140 things. That's crazy. I was tying it to like when you're buying a piece of software and you don't know exactly what you need. I think one of the things that gets me, like, I've been going through this process of trying to get like an HR tool. And so what are the things I need? Well, some of it's based on seats, right? Licenses, number of people, like the different features that I need. Well, wouldn't it be great if there was just a tool that took me through, here are the things that I need, and instead of me having to dig through 8,000 pieces of material, that all I got was, here's what we recommend for you. That would be nice.
That would be awesome. And I think you're dead on. Actually, can I ask you a question about that purchase?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you my super secret question.
Sure.
This is the super secret question that helps people figure out what moments of inspiration are, because I think it's very hard when you're the brand, right? Like, we're all talking about other brands for the most part, except for Andy's crappy WordPress page. But
I'm raising my hand.
You know what? It's okay.
From the front line. It's a true story.
We all have our embarrassing web pages.
That's right.
So here's the thing. Let me ask you, what inspired you to go on this journey to find an HR tool?
Well, 1, our company grew, but 2, I've been using email to keep track of everybody, right? And all of a sudden, it's like, this is too much. So like, I missed a review, right? Or I missed a check-in.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. There we go. Did you hear that? If you're listening, when you ask any customer or client or prospect what inspired them to go on the journey for this, what you're listening for is not the first 2 things you said, Casey. It's the I missed a
Problem.
review.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
is the moment of inspiration,
Yep.
right? So just to get to Andy's point, if I was going to run an ad for you as your moment of inspiration, I would run an ad that say, did you just miss an employee review, or forget this, or can't find that email with the employee that you just hired? Well, here, we should chat, like, or here's a thing, 13 things you need to do. And I wouldn't try to sell you the software yet. I would just try to help you not miss your next review.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
That's because I just did a session. So I have a monthly event, and once a year I do this version of it where I just critique websites. So it's a live website critique. It's
Love
1
that,
hour.
love that.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
And so people call these things like website throwdown, live websites review, page fights. Your baby is ugly. Yeah, I think we just called it live website critique. It's a really popular one. So I just blast through. It's like a blitz. I just look at all these pages. And one of them was like a wedding speech coach. Who's the visitor to this site? They're like going to be a best man. Freaking out, you know?
Yeah.
So the content did not align with that person. You know, it didn't, you know, but they're hoping for laughs.
Yeah.
They're scared of crickets, right? So so the content just failed to connect with that. And it was just real general, like we do speech coaching for weddings. Another one was like a hypnosis company, and it's like, stop smoking, lose weight. Who's this visitor? Grandpa's scared he's not going to see his grandkids grow up, you know? It's like a emotional, what are the real triggers? And I think that's rare. To both of your points, it's not that meant to be in meetings where people ask the question, what sent our audience on this journey? And then to construct the trigger, the ad, keyword, the social post, to have that as a question. You know, did you just miss another employee review?
Yes.
Shame on you, but click here. I want to help.
But
like,
also, yeah.
Yeah, that would do it. I'm serious. Like,
Well, I mean, I guess I would question too. I love that, right? Like how you got me to say that. That's great. Right. And we talk a lot about like content specifically and using, questions and whatever it might be, like talking to support. But how would you say you get people, how you find that information? Because a lot of the times I'm thinking of like places like I'll talk to the sales team or the support team or whatever it is, but those people are already on my site.
Yes.
Right. So how do you find that info before people have gotten to you? Perhaps?
Well, this is a great question. I always recommend whenever you have a question like this, just starting with your loyalty loop. So the next person that signs up for your service or buys the product from you, as soon as they finish the purchase, they bought it, they signed up, you should call them on the phone and say, hey, look, do you have 15 minutes? I'm so excited you bought a product from us, or you just bought from us, or you just subscribed. I just wanted to know what inspired you to ... What inspired? So some of the examples we had before were like, I had a pipe burst and I need a plumber, right? If you're a plumber and your website is all about how trustworthy you are, you show up on time and all that stuff, that is not your concern when your pipe just bursts, right?
Right.
Like, so when you have finished servicing that person whose pipe just burst, just stop for a second and say, hey, I'm glad we fixed this. What inspired you to call me? You know the answer, right? You don't have to answer that question. It's only when you sell software or some like more complicated products where the moments of inspiration are not as clear. So just ask that person, what inspired you to, and just listen. You have like they'll actually talk you through it just like you saw Casey do. Just they'll say a bunch of other stuff, but in the meat of it is the instant where you could see that they were like, I got to get some software. I got to get some software. I got to get some software. Those are the three things that you're going to write down as your moments of inspiration. The other thing I'll just say quickly is if you're working with a sales team, I think every marketer should actually try to sell someone. I think you should literally try to get on the phone or go on a sales call. And I think you should, with the risk of maybe losing the sale, I think you should have the experience of what it's like to feel what happens when a marketing lead comes in and the salesperson has to take it over. Because you've created all the experience before it, but it's important for you to first understand what the sales experience is like, and second, to realize that you should help affect the sales experience more. They need a ton of help.
If this works, so I just went out and did a survey of my audience and asked them why they want websites. Why did you want to redesign your website? And my value proposition and my, the drum I beat in every meeting is like, you're going to rank higher and convert a greater percentage of visitors into leads. Traffic and conversion, that's why people hire us, right? That's why people redesign their website. Am I able to watch this? This blew my mind. I am shocked. I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Look at why people redesign their websites.
Yeah.
Search was number like 11.
Yeah.
My number one value proposition was like the 11th or the most important thing to them. Out of date, beauty and brand was number one by a factor of 2. This is why people redesign websites. It's because their competitors redesigned or they don't feel like they look good anymore.
Yeah.
Update and rebranding messaging is tied for second. This was, so it was like 30 responses. It was SurveyMonkey.
That's
insight, right?
It's really good insight. And I actually think there's something that probably caused people to think that about their number one reason.
Oh, you mean
I
like,
think it's interesting that,
yeah. What's that?
Go ahead.
Say that again.
I was just saying that number one reason, like our site looks out of date and needs to be, and what, I forgot the other piece of it.
Beauty and brand, like my site wasn't, my site looked out of date.
Yeah, my site looked out of date. There's a trigger that happened that made them think that. And I'm willing to bet that it's a competitor a lot of times releasing a brand new site that's amazing. And you're like, wow, they just leaped like 7 years ahead of us. We got to fix something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like I've had probably 5 clients redesign their sites in the past year, and it's all because they're like, it just doesn't match the market anymore, right? We're too behind, which, it's an expensive endeavor if you're behind. But
yeah, every time I look at another speaker's website who just said, like they'll post, and I'm a little group of speakers, and they'll post on there, like, I just redesigned my website, like feedback, welcome. And I click it always, and I'm always like, man, my website sucks. That's my first thing, right? So it's like those kinds of things are really, really helpful.
I legit thought that the other day about my own. I was like, I got to do something. And then I didn't do anything. So here we are.
Oh, man, we only have 9 minutes left.
Yeah, you're making me want to go back, though, and repeat my survey because I apparently didn't. You're right. The real trigger wasn't there. The real trigger, so that's lesson 2, is to not just, it's the why, the original
what
why.
Sent me. The why is a result of the what sent me. So the moment of inspiration results in a why. When you ask, why did you decide to redesign your website? You get the second piece of the journey, right?
Yeah.
You get the thing that they realized. When you ask for what inspired you, like even if you go to a furniture store, I did this exercise with a furniture company, and their salespeople are trained to ask, what brought you in today? And when you ask that question, you actually get, well, we need a new couch. Well, let me walk you over to the new couch, right? So you're getting the second thing in the journey instead of the moment of inspiration. So instead, for a whole day, we had furniture salespeople ask people, what inspired you to come in today? And the answers were vastly different. They would say, we just moved into a new house. We like redid our whole living room, but the living room is bigger and the furniture looks small. Now, that from a sales perspective, I can send you, I just know 2 things. One, you moved into a new house and it's certainly bigger and your furniture looks small. So you don't just need a new couch, you need a whole house of stuff. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time with you to help you redesign your house instead of just walking you over to the couches, right? So that's the difference between asking what inspired the journey and why do you want to do what you've been inspired to do.
I see. It's you miss opportunities otherwise. This is just
totally
as usual. It's a big test of empathy. That's how I've learned to think about marketing.
So true.
It's just a giant empathy test, and your is demand and money, and the most empathetic brand will win. It comes down, but this affects. Well, what doesn't this affect? This is about copywriting. This is about ad placement. This is about, what channel you be in, Facebook or search or whatever. I don't know where, this plays out throughout like online, like you said in the beginning, online, offline. Where do we see, where will we be applying this if we've truly taken this to heart?
if you're truly taking this to heart, you're building experiences everywhere you can that are focused on understanding the commitment they just made and the next moment of inspiration they need to have. And you'll be really you'll know that it's about the little things. It's the micro moments between a moment of commitment and a moment of inspiration that will shape your success online, offline, billboards, billboard ads, display ads, SEO, website content, phone calls, like actual in-store retail experiences. It doesn't matter. You have to understand that it's a series of these little steps that build a giant slinky that just never ends in building loyal fans and followers.
Well, ironic is in a Semrush webinar, but part of our goal should be probably to keep them from going back to Google. Right?
That's exactly right.
You don't want them to go back. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody can see that, but I know we're having a camera problem. I can't remember if you're seeing me or just
live. I think you're okay.
Okay. So this basically, it's backwards for me. This moment of inspiration leads to a trigger question where you're the prime brand because you had a great moment of commitment that keeps people coming back. And when you think about the slinky, you're just trying to predict the next question they have with every moment of inspiration. And it just keeps adding to the top. It's like you're in their head and they're like, wow, I had no idea. Oh my gosh, I should have thought of that. Guess what? They have a white paper. This is great. Like you just keep going. And so if you're on that healthcare journey, one of the reasons Casey is probably not finding the advice or insight she needs is every brand is just trying to get them to take the giant leap instead of build and truly understand the HR buying experience so that at each step she's like, she has a bunch of questions. Well, if you're a professional, you know that those questions probably have to be answered in order and that you could spark those questions. Like, it's probably like, hey, don't worry about the number of seats you need right now. There's some things that are more important. Like let me get you to the point which you're inspired to ask the next question, which I don't know what that is because I don't buy much HR software.
Well, okay, so we're going to wrap up here, but let me just think through a couple of things I've learned. Of course, it's not linear, and I knew that, and I've seen the funnel tear down, and I appreciate that because we all know the funnel is not linear, and attribution's an insanely complex thing, and multi-channel attribution, and multiple devices, and where's my audience? But I love it partly because it's user-centric or customer audience-centric, and also because it's not. It's an oversimplification to say awareness, consideration, action. If your model, the loyalty loop, forces you to think about the context and moments, then you are more likely going to successfully connect the dot to keep the attention. Yes. Not that I'm in a funnel, but it's, if you think of it as, I like to think of it as moments, and I like the emphasis on context because it's too easy just to try to rank for a phrase and now our one metric went up, traffic. Now I got to convert people. I'm going to change my button colors, see if I can get better conversion. Like this is, people do that every day. People everywhere do that every day. Target a key phrase and make a call to action, make a conversion, cheese and mouse traps. How come I'm not making money yet? Yeah, it's because you actually didn't think about what your visitor cares about.
So true. Well, here's the thing. I know we only have 2 minutes left. Casey or Andy, if you guys, the more you think about it, if you start to think this is a really crappy idea, please call me and let me know. Or let's do another webinar so you can do a loyalty loop teardown. Because I really do want to know ways to improve it, or problems that you see with it, so I can actually try to solve them or at least explain my thinking. But this has been really, really fun.
This was a lot of fun. You're a gentleman. Drew, where can people?
I was going to say, I think you've brought me over closer to your side for sure.
Yay! That's fun.
I mean, at the end of the day, I would hope that good marketers are doing these things already, right? And to Andy's point, the funnel is obviously an oversimplification of what we're doing. So what you're showing, in theory, should be what people are doing.
It's a great point. It's a great point, Casey, because I'm writing a book about the loyalty loop, which will be out in January, which I'm excited about. But I came to the conclusion that it works because of some companies that do it really, really well. but they just, and even if they use the funnel, they just kind of shoved crap in and said it's a funnel. And you know, so yes, good marketers are already doing this. They just haven't had a way to explain it or visualize it and build on it so that other people can actually do the same thing.
Thank you both. Casey, where can people find you?
You can find me at comarketing.com, or you can find me on Twitter at CaseyG. I'm one of the people that is still holding down Twitter. I refuse to let it die. So
I'm there with you. Follow Casey,
right.
please. Attendees, before you close your tab, go follow Casey. Where can people find you?
Hey, you can find me also on Twitter. I'm at Drew Davis here on Twitter. And I'm at Drew Davis here on Instagram. And you can find me on YouTube. Just search for Loyalty Loop. Andrew Davis, you'll find I do a weekly video series, or you can check out my website, aka drewdavis.com.
If you need
where
content
can we
marketing
find you? Where can we find you, Andy?
At the next webinar. If you need content marketing help, Co-Marketing, Casey's company, they're in Boston, but they work with people all over the world. Consider Co, they'll help you. If you need a keynote for your upcoming event, Drew Davis, of course, will shit for you. He's the greatest. If you need content marketing software, not just SEO software, but content marketing software, take Semrush Content Marketing Suite, which is now massive. It includes tons of great tools. This was a blast. Thank you both.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun.
Thank you, Semrush.
See you in Boston.